Hello, welcome back to the S/4HANA Cloud 2108 and 2111 Delta training for finance and GRC. Here's again your host, Uli, with me, Katrin. And yeah, we completed already 2 blocks for today. And we would like to open block number 3 with a couple of presentations. So we'll have first an update on cash management, treasury and risk management from my colleagues Jürgen Jensen and William Cow. Then Tom Anderson will join from the US to give us an update on the intelligent real estate for SAP S/4HANA Cloud 2111. And Alain Brieux-Gall, as well as Katrin, will give you an update on the financial compliance, whereas Christian Stadler will give you an update on the international trade functionality or innovations. We'll have a bit time at the end of each session for Q&A. Please post your questions into the Q&A chat. We'll try to answer already some questions during the chat. Otherwise, at the end of the session, of each of the sessions, we'll go through the remaining open questions. And at the end of the overall block number 3, so short before 4 o'clock, Central European time, summertime, we are starting a small poll for this block number 3. All right, without further ado, I would like to hand over to William Cow, who's the Chief Product Owner, to give us an update on the cash management innovations. And after that, it's a joint session with Jürgen Jensen. He's CPO for Treasury and Risk Management, will give an update on Treasury risk. Yeah. William, you can take over.
Thank you, Uli. Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so, we can see it.
Good. Welcome, everyone, from my side. I'm William, Product Manager for the topic cash and liquidity management in S/4HANA Finance. Today, I will share with you our recent innovations in 2108 and the planned innovations in 2111. Firstly, we will have an overview about cash management in the S/4HANA Cloud. Then we look into the first big innovation, short-term cash positioning, which helps cash manager to do his daily work. Secondly, we will have a look about what enhancements we have for liquidity item analysis to derive the business reasons of the cash flow. Thirdly, see the enhancements in bank relationship management. Here we have a new process for applying new bank account and also the power of attorneys feature to maintain the signatories, as well as the new process for two-person verification. Okay, this is an overview for cash management in S/4HANA Cloud with module. You can have a holistic view of all the cash and liquidity related information. You can do cash position. You can forecast your future cash flows. You can also trigger the liquidity planning exercise to have collaboration across your whole enterprise. It can get the balances of your bank accounts via the electronic bank statements. And in case you have some bank accounts do not have electronic integration, you can also have manual balances inputted. Furthermore, we have the balances with accounting integration. Then with all this information, they are stored in one place called one exposure. It has more than balances for all the forecasted data, like automatic integration with AP and AR invoices, or sales order, or purchase order, or TRM deal. All this information also integrated into this one exposure. And that will become the source of truth for cash manager to make further decisions, like to shift the money from one place to the other, or do further FX hedging or risk mitigation task. So with the most important task for cash manager is to do cash positioning. Here we can see a flow about how cash position coming to our system. On this part, this is a typical UI of the cash position. There are several days from today or tomorrow, and for each line, there's opening balance on top, then some flows, and in the end, we have a closing balance, which is calculated. Before this innovation, the opening balance for today will always be aggregated from the historical accounting flows. And now with this new innovation, this cell in green, today's opening balance, can be directly get from a balance table that it either could be coming from some manually maintained balance or from electronically maintained balance from bank statement. And the easier part here is even without posting the bank statement into accounting, this balance can already be used in this cash position layout. So how to make this work? You can do some configuration, which is listed here, to set whether you want to post your bank statement to accounting or not. And even without posting, in case you do not want to post, it can also be integrated with cash. If you post, that also can be integrated. And the way to upload the bank statement stays the same. You can use these apps for those end-of-day bank statement. And you have new app called Manager Bank Account Balance that can maintain the manual balance. You can also define the layout of the cash positioning. Let's have a look. This is a example UI of that short-term cash positioning app. On the left-hand side, it's a navigation tree. In this example, you see it from company code, then currency level under it. Furthermore, it's a bank account level. You can click on each level and see the amount on the right-hand side. And you can even further click on the arrow to drill down into the detail. And the layout of this navigation tree can be configured as a setting in a profile. We will have a look at that. And the end user can use a mouse, move it to here to see which profile is currently being used. So how to set up a profile? Firstly, you create a new profile, then you define the filters, define the filter conditions. This will restrict which bank accounts will be part of this exercise. Then you assign the filter to profile, and at the runtime in the short-term cash positioning app, you choose a predefined cash position profile. So this is the UI to see, to set what is the profile look like. For example, here the hierarchy level 1, level 2, level 3 are defining the navigation tree on the left-hand side. And you can also set other parameters. For example, if you want to see overdue flows or not, if you want to see the future columns, and if you want to see 2 days or 3 weeks, you can define here. After that, you can define a filter. Filter could be conditions on those categories, for example, company code or bank, and so on, and account. And each filter can be assigned to the profile. You can have multiple filter to one profile. In that case, it will be in all relationship if you have multiple filters. And within one filter, the conditions are having the end relationship. So in case you see opening balance of today, and you want to know more detail, you can click on that cell. It will navigate to bank account opening balance detail. It shows you what is the balance coming from the latest bank statement. And in case there are some future dated flows, it will also be calculated in. In this example, it was 22,000 in the bank statement, but there are also other bank statements that said there's a flow will happen on May the 24th. So these two are added together, come as the opening balance for May the 28th. Okay, next, let's have a look about the enhancements in liquidity item analysis. First, let's have a look about the one exposure. This is a place where we store all the data, all the flows. You can see we have integration with material management or sales and distribution of Visita and accounting, so on. And through the adapters, the data will be stored in one exposure. And here in this new version, planned to be in 2111, we will store the decoupled cash flow for cash position and the decoupled cash flow for liquidity analysis. Why to have these two decoupled flows? The cash position cash flow is based on FI, but without the analysis using the document chain tracing. That means if we see a line item posted from bank statement, it will appear as it is in one exposure. But without the document chain analysis, which invoice is this line item paid for example. But on the contrary, the liquidity item cash flow means we will not only looking into its amount, its date, but also try to review what's the business reason of it. And then we will build the document chain through the document clearing relationship and find the most probable reason for it. For example, if we find an invoice of purchasing raw material, then that's a business reason or liquidity item for this cash flow. On the other hand, if we find it's an invoice for marketing expense, then it has a different business reason. So the calculation for liquidity analysis takes more time than doing cash position. That's why now we have decoupled these two and give customer choice. They can decide to have these both. They can also say, I want to do cash position flow firstly. Do not wait for the liquidity item analysis. Or even they say, let's do liquidity item analysis purely manual. So what's the key improvements here in this version 2111? We will support both real-time or the mass run for liquidity item analysis. And we have decoupled the cash position and the liquidity so that customer can freely decide whether to have them together or separated. We have a traceability report for single accounting document. This is helpful if you want to know why the system derive a certain liquidity item. For example, for this 200 euro, system said this is for the marketing expense, but you wonder why. You can input this payment document number, and system will show you how the document chain is built, which documents have clearing relationship in the end that caused the system finding is for marketing expense. And we support more scenarios in liquidity item derivation. For example, in some special cases, the AR invoice and AP invoices are netted during the payment run and only generate one line item of cash flow. With this new version, we can show both of the original receivable and the original payable invoice in their original amount and two different liquidity items. We also start to support the withholding tax with a specific liquidity item. We also have support for more parallel run when it's doing the scheduled or manually loading of data. And we have opened several cloud bodies, allow customer to fine tuning their logic. And we have some built-in automatic comparison and compression algorithm to reduce the data volume that is stored in one exposure. So it will try to find whether a change is a business meaningful or is it just a technical change. If it's a technical change, then do not generate the record for snapshot. So here is one example about that choice. We have two, even three modes that, for example, a customer can decide the company code A running in the mode cash position only, which means for this company code, customer can see the cash position, but without drill down into why the cash flow is happening. And for company code B, customer decide I want to see cash position, all the cash flows for this company code, and I also want to see the reasons of each cash flow. Then he can choose the mode cash position plus liquidity analysis. And for another company code C, for whatever reason, the customer do not want to see the cash position, but they only want to see the business reason based report, and they can choose the liquidity item only mode. This can happen within one customer that per different company code have different settings. But of course, you can have the same setting for all your company codes. Well, we support most typical accounting scenarios from invoice to payment. And the configuration is in a self-service UI as well. On the right-hand side, you can see per different company code, you can do the setting where you want to cash position or liquidity item analysis or both. And in case you choose liquidity item analysis, you can also decide whether it's close to real time, that is to analyze on the fly, or it's a deferred that you can schedule some daily job or weekly job to analyze the business reason of cash flows, or you want to make it as a manual work. All three are possible, but please be aware in case you want to use it for real time, please set up the rules rather simple. Extension. As mentioned, now we have cloud bodies for further influence of the logic. you can decide whether document change should be stopped at any step. This is on top of the default logic. Normally we will stop at invoice, but this is to give you further fine-tuning opportunity. A second body is for you to change the value of the cash flow for the existing fields. For example, you can change the value of profit center in this cash flow based on a particular logic, or change the liquidity item and so on. For your information is that all the changes here are only applied to one exposure, so they doesn't change anything in accounting document. And the last one, FCON decision, also can do even further fine-tuning of the logic operation. So here are the apps that you can do the load of the FI and material management data in this scheduled job flow builder. These are the different modes I mentioned before. And here is the example that ARA and AP are netted, and we can show you two different liquidity items with their full amount as original. This is a traceability report. You can see how the clearing relationship is built for that document. This is a tool for deleting the cash flows for whatever purpose. You think some flow is wrong, then you can delete it. Then you use the previous rebuild tool to do it. But please still be careful to use this tool. Aggregated flows, in case you have a long history flows in one exposure, you can use this tool to compress them. We also have a report to compare the data between one exposure and accounting and bank statement. And in case there are some failed entries in a job detected, you can use this tool to rebuild the failed entries. Okay, last piece is about enhancement in bank relationship management. Here, first thing I want to introduce is that about the process for opening a new bank account. In the past, we already have a process for opening a bank account. But that's a process that normally used by Treasury Department because it involves the authorization of the app, of the role using the app manage a bank account. So quite some customers said we have more broader potential and users to express their need for new bank account. So that's why we introduce a process that even before the bank account process is starting for any users that outside of the Treasury team. For example, anyone in a company could request for a new bank account, and then the cash manager can evaluate and approve. And finally, the cash specialist say, I will start to do the bank communication. And after that, after these steps, the original bank account opening process in managed bank account will start. So here, as this is a new app, it can be assigned to the users outside of Treasury Department. Here are the actions that the person can do: submit application or withdraw. This is a UI. The end user can input the reason for it, and the cash manager can approve. The specialist can do further work on it. So this is a new catalog for the user, for the applicant as a first step. It's different than the other cash management catalog. The second thing I want to mention here is power of attorneys. So corporates usually tell banks who can represent me to handle the bank accounts, to open, to withdraw the money from the bank accounts. So normally we see these people called authorized representative. There's also activities that these people are authorized to do. And also after 2111, we are considering even further concept like channel, in which channel are these people authorized. So we have a new app, Manage Power of Attorney here. We can have a look at the UI. You have the title of the power of attorney. It's also like a signature card. You can define whether it is applied to several company code and what are the bank accounts affected. For example, you can via a bank key or currency or some other options to select a certain more than one bank accounts, and you see which are those bank accounts. And on the right hand side, this is a screenshot. You can see who are the authorized person. By the way, these are the business partners in a system that has a role of authorized representatives. And what are the activities these people are authorized to do. So there are also change logs and the other features around this. And you have the configuration possibility for the authorization groups and the activities. Last thing I want to mention in bank relationship management is that we have a new process called two-person verification. You might know that in the past, we already have the three modes. Firstly, active directly, that you do some changes to the bank accounts. It can be saved and it can be used immediately. There's a mode called dual control mode. Person A change and person B activate the change. The third way is more comprehensive, use workflow. Now we come this two-person verification way. It's also one of the way in the same configuration as before, as a fourth option. In this way, the end user can approve, reject the change, can withdraw a change, can have the revision history and approval history. Maybe you wonder what's the difference between the dual control and this two-person verification. Yes, both can work with two people, and in both ways, the second person can approve the change. But besides that, you can see in two-person verification mode, there are more functionality. Is there a rejection or for the submitter to withdraw the change and the other functionalities so you can see. Okay, there are some UI for these people. And just to mention, if you use the app, maintain payment approver, and also set the configuration by account type and the company code, then it's not in scope for two-person verification. Last but not least, here is the help portal link. Welcome to come and see more information about cash management in public cloud. That's it from my side. Thank you very much. With that, I would hand over to my colleague, Jürgen.
Yes, so now I will talk about the new developments we have made for the public sector. Let me first share my screen. So I will now make a short introduction to our enablement within treasury and risk management and cash management for the public sector. Public sector came to us and said that they would like to sell more in the North America, in the public sector area. But to be able to do this, there are certain features and functions that are very important to this area. And it is there's a wide usage of funds and grants, and that is being used to allocate and manage budgets. Therefore, we had now to enhance treasury and risk management and also cash management with exactly these two fields. So it can be used also in cash and treasury to manage funds and grants. It should, of course, be included in all the transactions. It should be included in the general ledger, and it should also enable be doing postings there and also in the reporting cash management. On top of that, they also ask for us to support the amortization using the effective interest rate method, which is widely used in the US, but which we have not supported up until now. So what have we done here? Well, we have first of all introduced some additional differentiation criteria. Differentiation criteria helps to manage the postings in the treasury positions. So whenever you have a treasury position, you know where it belongs to. Not only did we add now fund and grant, but since we added it anyway, we also added cost center, profit center, functional area, and WBS element, because customers have also asked for this in the past. So we may as well now add all of them at the same time. You can yourself decide what is important for you and your customers. It can be configured which items and which are these additional differentiation criteria should be used. So it is up to the project itself, and changes can be made in the configuration for this. The supported product categories are the OTC instruments in the money market area. It's a 510 to 560 and also 600. And of course, in the securities area. Let's see what it looks like when this has been activated. So in configuration, you don't go in and activate these elements. Here we have activated a lot of the elements. And then whenever they're activated, then you also have to fill them in. So you enter all these values here. You can generally get a value help by using the value help to get a list of possible entries. It's also possible actually to split a position. So if you go away from administration, I have already filled this in. You can also go to the cash flow area, and in here you can actually split a single position. So let's say you have a position of 1 million which you want to invest. You can then split this into two different positions. For example, 600,000 in one area and 400,000 in another. It can be split according to the fund or according to the grant, or as in this case here, and in this example here, according to the profit center. It doesn't matter, and you can have as many entries here as you want. So even a single position can actually be split into several sub positions using this feature in the cash flow area. Of course, also in the reporting, you can see and use these fields. So they have been introduced, all these new selection criteria, the WS element, the fund and grant, etc. And of course, when you run a report, you see the values that have been entered in these fields, and also see the split as in this case here. Also in the position flows, it's the same. You can select them and you then see the individual postings, or the individual positions split up according to the entries that have been made previously in the deal. And when you then do the posting to the accounting, of course, these values are also included in the accounting postings, and you can see the split here as well according to the criteria that were entered earlier. As mentioned, we also have added a new method for amortization. Amortization is necessary when you have interest earnings that you need to split up in different periods. So let's say you have an interest payment next year, but this year you also already have to say how much money, how much interest have you actually earned this year, even though the cash flow is actually only next year. There are different ways to calculate this. One is called linear amortization, which is quite simple. Then there's the scientific amortization cost. But an additional method is the effective interest method, which is new to SAP now, which we have just introduced with the 2111 release. And it uses a effective interest rate, which is calculated internally to distribute the earned interest into the different periods, how much has been earned this year, and assigned to next year's earning. So we can see here, it is added to the conditions. Here you have now here the effective interest method, number 5, US Treasury method, the internal method. And then in the position management procedure, when you define that in the configuration, then you have here now the possibility to say that you want to use the US GAAP method for calculating the earned interest in this period, and then the calculation will be using the internal interest. If you go to cash management, we have also done some enhancements here. As said, we need to also support funds and grant within cash management, and on top of that, also cost center has now been added. You can use and see these fields within the cash flow analyzer, in the check cash flow items app, and in the manage memo records. Although the manage memo records do not support the cost center entry. And what can we do with it? Well, we can use it for filtering data, we can enter values, we can display the list pages and object pages. It's also possible to actually do manual adjustments. So in the fields, and when you see a value in, for example, cash flow analyzer, you can go in and do adjustments of the actual cash in the check cash flow items, and actually adjust it if it's an actual cash. I say it's already posted to the bank account. If it's money in transit, meaning a payment payment run has been started, or if it's an invoice being posted, then you can go in and adjust the values. Sometimes it has not been entered correctly from the original source, and then here in cash management, corrections can be made. Let's just try to look at a small example here. We have here a purchase requisition, and we can see here it has number 10,180 is our number. And we have seen here we can have already added the fund and the grant. And if I then now go into my cash flow analyzer, here below, I see here it has been added on a planning level M1. And already here I can see the fund and the grant. And if I then do a further drill down into the cash flow item, I also here see the document number and which grant and which fund have been added to this entry from the requisitions. That is it from my side. We just looked here at that the developments we've done for public sector. Most of it has been added in its 2108 release, but some of the features is only available in 2111 release. Are there any questions to the area of cash management and treasury and risk management that you've just talked about now? Have there been anything posted in the chat, Uli?
Yeah, there was one question already answered by William. What's the difference between dual control and the two-person verification function? I think there was some explanation in this table. In addition to that, William explained that a number of features are only supported in the new two-person verification mode, such as reject change, withdraw change, comments on decision block, bank account editing, support bank account contract types. So I believe, if I remember right, there was a table with a comparison of the different features by type of two-person verification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then that finishes our session from William and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening.
Hey, thank you so much, William. Thank you so much, Jürgen. It was a great session, very interesting. And yeah, we are ahead of time a bit. The next session that we are planning at 4:15 is an update on real estate and leasing, the intelligent real estate, 2111 by Tom Anderson. Let's check if Tom already joined.
I'm here. Good morning, good afternoon.
Tom is already there. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Great.
Hey, thank you so much for joining this Delta training. So we have a couple of online participants, but the whole session, of course, will be recorded once more so that we'll see a couple of consumptions during this week, I'm sure. Yeah, we have 30 minutes, Tom, and I'm curious to see what's in there. And yeah, without further ado, if you'd like to, you can share your screen and go ahead.
Great. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk to you about our changes in real estate. The 2111 release for us is a massive release and really follows the progression of our real estate development and life cycle since 1990. Is the next generation, we believe, of SAP's real estate solution. So not just a small Delta piece that will be implemented, but actually pretty much a modernization of SAP's real estate offering that, as you will see, takes advantage of a bimodal platform, leveraging the cloud at any premise for back-end systems, modernizes the user experience across the entire end-to-end process for real estate, and really provides customers the ability to grow and to move into new technologies in the real estate landscape. So, you know, we started our journey back in 1990 with SAP's classic real estate solution. That was all about financial performance. Oh, I have some space in my portfolio. I want to lease it out. And I can capture these expenses and revenues on a real estate cost object. And we introduced these new cost objects right as part of the accounting string. And then in 2004, we released we call flexible real estate. So this a little more flexible, a little more options besides just here's a rental unit, you can rent this out, trying to support more land and other types of real estate. And that solution really has served us well. And then in 2016, we said, you know, we're underrepresenting our customers who serve corporate real estate, those who have real estate for their own individual use. So we released Cloud for Real Estate, which is built completely on the business technology platform. But the market's changing a lot. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. And because of these changes in the marketplace and what's happening, we have now released the next generation, which we call SAP Intelligent Real Estate, which will be released in the 2111 release. That's the minimum viable scope there. So what's the big deal about SAP Intelligent Real Estate? Well, COVID, I think, shows us a perfect example of what's happening, is that companies who thought that they needed lots of space for their employees to come to an office every day and lease space, and sit there and do their job, are now finding that those same employees can be just as productive or maybe even more productive from a home office, or they may want flexibility of working from home one day and maybe 3 days working in the office and then working another day at home or even another location. So the nature of the workplace has changed significantly, not as a place to maybe go and do work, but to collaborate together. So that means they need less space in their portfolio. It means they need a lot fewer buildings, they need a lot less land, and they need to change how they manage their real estate. We're also seeing that companies that were once like SAP that said, oh, I just need real estate for my own use. Now, because they have this excess space, they're essentially becoming landlords and they need to start leasing out space in their portfolio. So we see a commingling of space, corporate and commercial together. And because of densification, we're seeing companies also say, hey, within the same building, let's include some residential. Let's put some housing in that same building. So maybe on the first floor and the second floor are shopping. And then the third floor to the fifth floor are corporate offices. And after that, we put in residential housing. And all of that needs to be displayed and available in one application. And that's what that's what intelligent real estate is all about. Having all this real estate data in one place and the ability to reprioritize and restructure the building as needed. So this solution that we will release again in 2111 allows us to support all the new themes in real estate today: remote work, sustainability, cloud computing, within a flexible open platform. We leverage, as you'll see, the business technology platform for parts of it, as well as S/4HANA and Analytics Cloud to provide the analytical reporting of this. So how's it built? Well, you'll see that it follows SAP's bimodal strategy, in that we have the business technology platform, which is there to support cloud operations and those processes that need to be across platforms. We carve out pieces of our old ERP and put that in the business technology platform so they can connect with other applications more easily, that we can embed those in other processes, and that we can start to leverage things like Ariba and SuccessFactors and C4HANA or customer APIs or partner solutions for that level, and at the same time integrating with S4HANA to allow it to do what it does best, which is calculate, transact, and post. And the challenge for us as we adopt this strategy is that it should be totally transparent to the user, whether they're doing something within the business technology platform or S4HANA or Ariba or wherever they're at. They should just be able to complete a business process. So what have we delivered and what does this look like for 2111? Well, the first thing is that we move from this old GUI style screen to help us know what's in our portfolio to a beautiful user experience that has won Red Dot Awards for usability. We have had the opportunity to show this to some industry leaders, and they were just amazed at the beauty of the solution and the usability of the solution. So a complete change in how we present information to our users. Those who are pretty knowledgeable about our previous offerings will say, well, that looks like cloud for real estate that you had before. And the answer is exactly. What we took was cloud for real estate and extended it. So now it supports commercial, corporate, residential real estate processes using the same user experience. And I'll go into that more in just a moment. So let's talk about this location management first, what's built on the BTP and why that's important. Well, the first thing is that you have third-party applications everywhere in a landscape. So customers have them to manage, obviously, their real estate. They have them to manage land systems. They have them to manage space systems. They have them to manage maintenance systems. And they take and they replicate that master data everywhere within their landscape. And they may push it here, take it there, or recreate it manually. And with this landscape, this carving out the location information, put it into BTP, what that allows us to do is create a hub in which now a company can create that master data one time, and we call it a digital twin because it's a digital representation of what that building looks like with its hierarchy, its site, its land, its building, its floors, and make that available for partners like Honeywell to connect and be able to create innovative energy management solutions. Or with Wipro, who can now extend our solution to support lease out and brokerage processes, or with a third party like Corasoft, who can take CAD drawings and GIS maps and be able to display everything visually. And of course, we take that same information and make it and replicate it into S/4HANA, or use it for analytics and analytics cloud, or for other cloud applications like the intelligent asset management. So we become a hub in which all this master data around a building is created once and then becomes available for the rest of the environment. Also, as part of this release, instead of just making that data available, we also recognize that, hey, not every customer is on the same SAP backend or even has an SAP backend. Maybe the company or the entity that's operating site A is running S/4HANA Cloud. Maybe the entity that's operating site B and C is on an S/4HANA on-premise system. And the entity that's running site E is on an ECC system. But they still need to have one version of the truth. They still need to have one version of their entire real estate portfolio. So what this allows us to do by putting all of our locations on the business technology platform is that a customer can create all of their real estate locations, but then assign the appropriate back end to each location. So site A is assigned to the S/4HANA Cloud instance. B and C is this on-premise instance, et cetera, on it goes. And if a customer doesn't have an SAP system, they can still use it to track in their locations with its attributes. So huge ability to see all real estate in one place. And this is a major step forward from what everything else that's offered on the market, as well as for SAP customers, because now you can go to one place to see everything that sits in your real estate portfolio. The other major piece that we did with this is we completely simplified the model, the data model behind it. So with REFX, you could have an architectural view, which was a view based on the structure of the building, my country, my region, my site, land, building, and within that building, here's the floors and all my spaces. And at the same time, I may have to have an accounting view of that, right? Company codes assigned to this site. And underneath that site, I have a building, and that building is assigned to company code 1. But what if 2 company codes operate within the same one building. What happens then? Well, then a customer ends up having to build 2 usage views of the same data. They're replicating the data. Or if there's a change in the financial structure, then they have to end all that old usage data and create new. With this new data model, we create the master data one time on the business technology platform, and then it is enabled within S/4HANA and is synchronized automatically based on timestamps. So that means that as a customer changes the structure of their real estate, they're just changing an attribute on the space, and that data is available, as you'll see, to be leased out or leased in or whatever else. So a complete simplification of our master data model available in 2111. So what does this look like? Well, let's go take a look. The first thing I want to show you is the adoption of the unified Fiori Launchpad. So regardless of the backend application, Fiori tiles are available. So if I'm dealing with Analytics Cloud, it's sitting here. Location management and business technology platform, it's here. Enable occupancy or manage occupancy within S/4HANA, it's all sits in the same place. The contracts, financial transactions, AP, AR, all displayed on the same unified Fiori Launchpad. So it has that unified user experience in one place. So let's dive into location management. Remember, location management is about what's in my portfolio and its attributes, so it can be shared across the platform. Isn't that what normally happens? Let's just try one more thing. One more second, sorry.
No problem. This is what always is happening during demos, of course.
Of course, it's like.
Did you call it demo bug, right? There was one
exactly
question while it is loading from Anders here. Will intelligent real estate be available for all countries in 2111 or just US and Germany?
So in 2111, this will be available in US and Germany. So the further localization will be in the next release. Okay,
so subsequently, we will see localizations, for example, for Sweden and so on.
Correct. So the obviously location management is available for other countries, but the integration to S4, that's where we have to be localized. It's just. Okay. There we go. Not fast, but at least it's going. So the first thing we see is that everything's displayed via a map, opposed to displaying things in some kind of tabular format, right, that we have to drive through. And we see here the number of sites that are listed on each within each country. And I can, of course, drill into each country and see the number of where each of these sites are located on a map. Just to keep things simple for today, I'm going to drive here. And I'll go to my building that I created. And we see our building, and we have a nice little picture of the building. We see where the building is located, its usage type, its status, that it's in use, and its ownership status, as well as the types of areas that are within that building. So workspace, a circulation area, retail areas, right? So instead of being just corporate space, all space types are available here, and we can see where they are within that building. I can, of course, drill into the different floors and see the floors, or I may see the enablement in the contracts related at the building level. Okay, this is again on the business technology platform. So we can extend it, embed other cloud applications, connect other cloud applications, connect analytics here. Because we're short on time, we'll now go to space management and talk about, well, what about I have space and how has that been changed within this 2111 release? Well, we take this business technology platform, and remember, it's the digital twin of the building. And we take and we synchronize the master data that's required to support financial processes within S/4HANA. So if I'm leasing in a building, I create an enablement group, and now I can assign that to a leasing contract. If I'm leasing out space, I can create an occupying group and assign that to a lease out contract. And that data is, as I said, synchronized within S4 for the customer. So they're not replicating the data manually. They're just defining the type of space that they have within their portfolio. So let's take a complicated example. Like I have a building and I'm leasing in space, okay? So someone else owns it, I'm leasing in space, but I'm leasing in space, and part of that's on the third floor, and part of that's on the second floor, and part of that's on the first floor. But it's all part of one contract. So how do I know what space should be included on that contract? Well, that's when they create an enablement group. And we say, okay, here's in my enablement group, and it's part of this because I have one digital twin of the whole building. I can see what there is. And I assign floor 3, space 311 to that enablement group, and floor 2, space 215 to that enablement group, and all of floor 1 to that enablement group. And here's the cost center that I'm going to use to collect the costs on it, as well as any fixed assets that are associated with it. And I assign that to the enablement group. And now that data is replicated within S4, and I can assign it to a contract. I'll show you that in just a second. And because I may lease some of this space out, or I'm going to use some of this space internally, or use it even to a subsidiary, I can define that with an occupying group. And I say, okay, this occupying group A1 is going to be for internal usage. Our employees are going to come to this space and they're going to work there in groups and coordinate and collaborate together. So it's just pure internal usage. The space 2 is going to be leased out to a sister company, to a subsidiary, just like SAP would to SAP Germany or SAP America. They lease that space out to a subsidiary through a lease out intercompany contract. And in space 3, I don't need it at all. It's now, but in the future date I can assign that space to a lease out contract. So regardless of the space type, it's all being managed within the same solution. So what does that look like? Well, if we go to this building, I see my different floors, and I see that I have an enablement group for this building. And if I look at this enablement group, it's been replicated in S/4HANA, and I'm now going, and it's going to show me this enablement group within S4. It's amazing how much slower this is when, I guess, you're on a Zoom call or something. We see the enablement group that I have created that's assigned to this building with its start dates and its end dates. And I assigned a company code to it because somebody's financially responsible for this space. And I'm able to scroll down and see the space types. Oh, okay, part of this building is commercial, part of this is being used for common space, part of this space is being used for retail area or hygiene area, etc. And it's all date delimited. So as I change those space allocations over time, I can see what it looks like in the future, where I added a hygiene area to this building. Notice again the completely different user experience when it comes to assigning and creating a space. And I also have place to assign my cost objects, my cost centers. If I'm going to internally assign space, I can assign the conditions of how much would be charged. €5 per square meter would be charged to any internal occupants in the date that would incur in the future, as well as any change logs that have happened with that space. So we enable that with a nice, beautiful Fiori transaction for space. But maybe I want to start managing the occupancy. I can also go straight, instead of from Cloud for Real Estate, I can go in from a Fiori tile. And let's say I want to look at my occupying group, and just to keep things fast, I pull up shop 1, who's occupying part of my building. And if I look at that detail around shop 1, I can again see, oh, here's the amount of space that this shop occupies, right? So they have 300 square meters, where it is within the building, and the contract that is used to manage that agreement. And finally, the last thing I want to show and talk about is the modernization of the real estate contract. So we have gone from even trying to Fioritize or make a contract look like it's Fiori, this, to this, where it's a completely different user experience around that agreement. So I have my contract information here, I click on it, and I can drill in go into the cash flow of the contract, the new Fiori transaction. Maybe I'll look at the dashboards around my contracts and see analytics related to it, or just manage critical dates. But I'll go to the contract itself. So we'll go to the contract itself, and we see the information around the contract, where of course you can filter by company code or contract type or the name of the contract, as well as all the information, the most critical information about that agreement. When does it start? When does it end? What's its first posting? Are there renewals associated with that contract? Who's the contract with and the partner? And be able to drill straight down into that partner. What do the payments flows look like for that thing? How often is it paid? Monthly, quarterly? What are the conditions of that contract? All that being maintained here. And as I see these little arrows on the side, it extends, and I can enter the details associated with those items. Right, so here's the condition information and the details associated with it. So again, modernization of the contract being released into 2111. So a major change there as well. You still have all the benefits that we are used to with the real estate contract, meaning you can extend it and add custom fields, you can rearrange things. It supports IFRS 16 and ASC 842. All that functionality we have built within the contract is still available. We've just provided a new Fiori transaction on top of it to simplify and to enhance the user experience with managing our real estate contract. All right, I've shown that. So I think in wrapping to my last couple of minutes, I would just like to, show that we've really have changed a lot of things. We didn't go into the analytics that have been delivered as part of this release as well, to be able to support leasing and the new location management stuff. It has the financial integration that you would expect, and really improve that financial integration between our location and S/4HANA itself, extended it to a location to be able to assign to different applications in the back end. So it enables a customer to really have one version of the truth for their entire real estate portfolio. Are there any other questions before we wrap up and go to the next speaker?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. A very exciting topic. I think it's a very relevant and current topic for everyone at the moment. So I'm happy to see this evolving so much. It's a great presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have some few minutes left for questions for Tom. Any questions for Tom? I do have a question, Tom. A happy cloud customer, S/4HANA Cloud customer, from the perspective of S/4HANA Cloud, to consume this end-to-end scenario, let's say, most comprehensive manner. What are the ingredients? What are the services I need on top? I understand I need on top the PTB app. We need some sort of reporting on top of this by SAC. What else is required to run this end-to-end process?
Yeah, those are the three major components, right? Would be the BTP app, cloud for real estate, and then you have the analytics cloud to help support your analytics around what's in your portfolio, as well as a management of the contracts, and then of course S/4HANA, and to be able to use that to generate your financial postings and to generate your payments, as well as use the analytics within S/4HANA Cloud. So those are the three major things that that are required. And what we did as part of this rollout is we changed the pricing and the metrics associated with it. So it used to be that you would buy a user license, and you'd have to buy a user license within a Cloud for Real Estate, a user license within S/4HANA Cloud for contract and lease management. Of course, then you need your license for Analytics Cloud. And what we did is we changed the metric to now being based on objects. So if a customer has 500 contracts and 200 locations, they would buy pay for the 200 locations within a Cloud for Real Estate location management, and the 500 within S/4HANA Cloud. So the theory is they're not double charged for it, because we worked the pricing enough. So it's kind of lined up that way.
Very interesting. Thanks. Let me check the chat. I think there is one more question. No. Looking forward to sell this.
Good.
From our colleague, Anders. You're welcome.
This is a good example of that. If this is Adidas, right? So Adidas is an enterprise that has ERP location or instances around the world, and their real estate department needed a unified solution. So they're going with this platform. One, they set up a sidecar for S/4HANA Cloud to capture all the financials around real estate. And then they brought in the new front end here for location management and Analytics Cloud to be able to manage each location. So regardless of what platform they're on, they can manage their real estate. And in their case, it was an enabler for us to position S/4HANA Cloud, even though they already have S4 and ECC and other parts of their organization. So it's an interesting story and opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm. There is another question here from Ravia. Is available any tool or similar for our customers calculate the new metric. I don't know if I get the question correct.
So, okay, on our GEM group, we have a worksheet to help you calculate how many blocks of contracts they would need based on S/4HANA and how many blocks of they would need within cloud for real estate. So we do provide you a tool to help you determine, based on the number of objects they have, how many blocks they would need. So yeah, it's in the GEM group, and there's also an FAQ document there to help you understand the definitions. Oh, this is what a space is, this is what a building is, right? So you can clearly explain to a customer.
Yep, thanks. So I think this question is answered. Another question that comes up very often, or that is expected, is the availability for on-premise. So which on-premise release of S/4HANA do you support with this scenario?
So it'll be on-premise 2021, and it will be available in Feature Pack 1.
All right. Very good. So I see no more questions in the chat. And if there are no more questions, so this is my definite tip for you. It's my personal release highlight for 2111. And Tom, thank you so much. By the way, it's not Greg talking here, even it says Greg Hatchion. That's my colleague. So that was Tom Anderson from the PM Real Estate and Leasing. And yeah, thanks so much for dialing in, giving us the great presentation and the intro into the topic. And see you soon then in a show and tell session for 2111. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity. Have a nice day.
All right. Take care. Bye. All right. And discussing the agenda, we have 2 remaining topics on the agenda of the second block. The next topic will be on we'll now move to the GRC topics. And the next topic is the hottest candidate in the GRC portfolio, the financial compliance management. And right after that, before we end up the block 3, we'll also get an update on the international trade. So for financial compliance, I welcome Katrin, of course, my colleague, who will co-present now with Alain Brieux-Gall, who is the PO of SCM. And after that, Christian Stadler will take over, who's the PM of ITM of the International Trade Management. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Uli. As Uli mentioned already, we will switch now to the GRC side of the house on this joint day for finance and GRC. So the first topic on the agenda is SAP Financial Compliance Management, which will be illustrated by myself and Alain Brieux-Gall, as Uli mentioned, product owner for financial compliance management. And as you are well aware, financial compliance management became generally available with the 2102 release. And thus we presented it at the last Delta training for the first time. Financial compliance management is really our new kid on the block when it comes to our GRC portfolio in the cloud, and it's our next generation control solution in the cloud. It's built on SAP Business Technology Platform, and it can be integrated with S/4HANA Cloud and S/4HANA on-premise. The functionality of financial compliance management is built in the form of reusable business services, which can be combined just like Lego bricks, similar to a car manufacturer who offers different types of cars, but 80% of the parts are the same. And this allows us to cover many use cases, for example, SOX compliance and also data privacy. And this is why financial compliance management and SAP privacy governance, which will be presented in the session this afternoon by Dominic Schwartz, they share the same technical foundation, the same services. So the vision of FCM is really to cover the complete end-to-end process to achieve for the first time enterprise-wide compliance by heavily benefiting from control automation. And it all starts with the motivation. So in this case, for example, financial compliance, or as mentioned, privacy governance. And the next step of the course then is the control management, where the corresponding controls have to be established and then executed. And results, from this you would then get results, of course, and the results are either something that you just tick off because everything's fine, or something where you say, well, these are issues we need to look into. And from that, then the next step, of course, is to kick off a workflow-based remediation management. So this is something that we have so far in parts, and you need to document, of course, in the end, then also what you do, and also you want to report it, which we will do in Analytics Cloud, which Alain will show you in a few minutes. So the first innovation that we will focus on with FCM within this session is the business content, and this is really the heart of the solution. And the second innovation, as mentioned, are new dashboards with Analytics Cloud. So when we take a look at the business content, first of all, I would like to quickly recapture the entities that we have with financial compliance management in order to make it easier for you to follow. So in the middle, we have the control object, which holds the business context of the control, for example, SOX compliance, and segregation of duties could also be an example. And this control then provides a business meaning. So you can achieve this by corresponding description and also by assigning master data. And master data can be, for example, organization, process, regulation, and also risk. And the control is then the bundling, which bundles the procedures. So this is the business logic for applying the controls. And the procedures can either be automated or manual ones. So for example, you could have an automated procedure for detecting general journal entries which have been entered on the weekend. And then the actual execution of the control is then scheduled and executed via so-called work packages. And then if we have results which match our search criteria, we then come up with real issues which then need to be remediated in some form. For the integration with S/4HANA Cloud, we offer a scope item 3KY, and for on-premise, this will delivered with the 2021 release. So if we now take a look at this, which at the business content, this is really the most important innovation for financial compliance management. So you might recall that with the 2102 release, we started off with some business content, but only for a couple of predefined automated procedures. And this has been extended significantly with the last two releases. So by now we offer really more than 60 automated procedures, which can be out of the box. And if you're wondering where to find this business content, the answer is very easy. So if you subscribe to Financial Compliance Management, you will find that in the system, in the respective apps as draft versions. And then you can either use them as is. Of course, you would have to define what the corresponding S/4HANA Cloud backend system would be. And then you can go ahead and use them, or you could adapt them to your needs and simply use it as a kind of templates. Now let me quickly show that to you in the system. So this is the S/4HANA Help Portal, and in here, this is the SAP Help Portal, and here we have the part on financial compliance management. So if you take a look at this, there is one section with the business content for this. And that's here. And here you can really see really nicely what is available. So first of all, you have to just make that a bit smaller. Doesn't work. Okay, so I'll try my best to do it other ways. Okay, so hope you can still see it. So here we have everything that you find in the system is available here, and it's really nicely documented. So as mentioned, the business content consists of controls, automated procedures, and manual procedures. And for example, if we take a look at the controls, you can see that they are grouped by certain areas: journal entries, purchasing, suppliers, invoices, and so on. And for example, if we take take a look at the invoices, you can see that there are two controls for invoices. For example, one is detect duplicate payments, and here then you see what you need to do. So here you see the automated procedure which is assigned to that. For example, if I click on suppliers, I can see that there's one control which is about the segregation of duties. And you can see that we have 4 automated procedures which would fit to this control. So if we take a look at one of them, this is one of the automated procedures that came with the 2108 release. This is the one about for identifying purchase orders which were entered by the same user which created the related invoice. And if you scroll further down, you can then see what parameters you could see, and all the automated procedures come with a very nice screenshot where you can see what the result view would look like. So imagine that we would have executed this automated procedure with a work package and a corresponding control, of course. Then the system would come up with this list, and you would see, well, we have found 31 items which match our search criteria in the S/4HANA cloud system. And then you could take a look at these entries, and in another app within the financial compliance solution, you can then look at these issues, so these found items, and see what to do with them, prioritize them, and yes, see what needs to be done, and also document the status. Yeah, and this is what I wanted to tell you about the business content. And I would now hand over to Alain Brieux, who will let you know what the dashboards for Analytics Cloud look like. Alain Brieux, over to you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I will now share my screen so that we can carry on. Just find the right button. Share my screen, yes. The idea of this particular feature that we are planning to deliver within the next 4 weeks is that besides the pure application that you've seen in the last rollout sessions, is that we would like now to enable the compliance managers to consume in an easy way outcomes of the runs, what Catherine mentioned regarding these work package runs, in a dashboard, in a reporting tool, and nothing better than SAC stories. And this is why we were using so far the control information, as you see here on the slide, as being the most central item out of our data model, to be the source for our SAC reports. So we are focusing here on 2 specific aspects, 2 different streams in this SAC report, which is mainly to look at the runs. What is my compliance status today? What happens in the last day, the last week, in the last year? So to have some analysis of my control across a couple of dimensions. whether it's about organizations, processes, and regulations, so that depending on the master data that were maintained, I'm able to understand for this given organization, how many failed control do we have and how many found items we need to work on. So those are the different charts you will see in a second, but as well, top X analysis to focus on the most critical controls that are constantly failing. We need to improve because segregation of duty is broken, because people are posting journal entries over the weekend, because we have tons of compliance breach in the purchasing department, and so on and so forth. So you will see a couple of dimensions that we were using to consolidate those data, but as well to have some evolution over time, meaning that we see the changes of failed controls and found items over time to identify outliers and things that are almost impossible to find out in the application, but here aggregate them and consolidate it at high level, so that you are able to understand what is some outliers over time. Do we have some seasonality of procedures always failing in the end of the quarter? Do we get an improvement of the number of found items, meaning decreasing of found items, so that we only focus on the most essential aspects? And the second aspect of our SAC report is all around master data. So the data that you visualize in the control runs are only of good quality if the master data of those controls are properly maintained. And with this part of the report, we want to reveal data maintenance issues across the board, meaning, do I define my controls the best way so that I can understand how I'm challenging my organization the most? Is it always across one single process? Always the same organization used? Are we covering most of the regulations? Do we have a sound distribution of automated and manual procedures across controls? The owner of the controls are they always the same, or do we have a good spread of control ownership? And as well highlight the incomplete master data of controls, meaning, do we have missing data in the maintenance of those? Let me look at them, let me drill down to the application as well. Do we have objects that were defined, but never assigned, never scheduled, never run? So it's like a bit like orphan data. We should either use those data, those objects, or delete them, just to make sure that we are not here handling data that we should not have into our system. And those reports are only valuable if you are able as well to drill down from those KPIs, those charts, those tables, back to the application. And this is why for selected chart, we have enabled the drill down to financial compliance management, so that the decision makers are able to link what they see with concrete actions down back to the system. So let me show you first the runs. Here we have the first SAC story that we will deliver very soon, all around the compliance coverage by either organization, processes, and regulations. So let me open one of those, in that sense, organizations. And here we see the breakdown of failed controls by organization. So we see that O1, processes and solutions, is hitting the most. So we have 4 controls that hit, and we have in the area of finance a little bit less controls that failed. And as well, you see for every single selection I'm doing, I see as well the top X controls for my particular selection, and as well the breakdown of my controls across high in terms of risk level, low and medium, and then I'm able to further navigate. So this is what we did for organization, processes, and regulation. And if you need more details on those, you can always look at the specific found items here at this level, and even drill down to the single control. So this is what I'm going to show in another examples. What is interesting as well is all around manual procedures, to understand how quick are we able in our organization to close those items, to process the manual procedures, especially because those are manual, as the name is saying, so driven by humans. So which activities are taking most of the time? Can we speed it up over time? And here, then we can understand the breakdown of, okay, 3 manual procedures. This one took about 10 days. The other one took 5 days. Can we improve this? Can we minimize the steps so that it can be done a bit quicker? So those are the activities that can be derived from that. And then the two most important things here from these specific reports is the breakdown of the fail control over time, meaning that I see how many controls are failing over time. So you see we a decline of fail control, which is good. So we have less controls hitting, but we still see some high numbers of found items, for example, in last January. So those are demo data. And here I can jump to the details of those found items to see from this time frame which controls were hitting. And we see here that definitely the control C1 is the one that is leading to most of our items. Yeah, so I can filter down and see on the right-hand side which procedures is hitting the most. So here, those are test data with only A1, and then we can understand what happened in detail. The same is available here in this breakdown of procedure runs over time, but shown in the other way, meaning that here we have the breakdown of different procedures. We see automated one, but as manual one. And here quickly, we see that these procedures is hitting the most. And then again, we can look at specific details to understand which controls were leading to those many items and do some drill down analysis. So those are things that are as well in the application available, but are difficult to understand at high level, like aggregated level, because the data are spread across different controls, different procedures, different time frame. And this is why here with this SSC report, we have a very high value of usage for both flow data, as I showed, but as well the master data analysis that I would just cover in a few seconds, that understands or that covers as well the overall inventory of all my controls to understand which regulation is covered the most by my controls, how is organization spread across all my processes and regulations, so drill down back and forth. Interesting is definitely here the incomplete maintenance of data. So the data quality is only available if the data holds or the complete maintenance across dimension is absent. So here we can recognize very quickly that process is not assigned, meaning that we do have a couple of controls where there is no processes defined. So let me jump back to this specific control. And by clicking here, I'm opening now the backend application to this particular control, and then I can maintain the data that are missing. You see, processes is missing. This should not be the case. Still, it's not a mandatory field, but then just highlight that here, maybe we could assign a specific business process there. So this is what we can see at control level. And then the last item is all about assignment of processes to control, because then we understand that here we have three, or we have one procedure, automated procedure that is assigned to multiple controls. Might make sense, but I'm not quite sure because this can be a relevant redundancy of checks across controls that would not make sense. But just to highlight a few things that are almost impossible to find out by clicking across all the data in the application. And just to finish this off, here we have the set of orphan data analysis. Recognize that here we have a couple of controls that are defined that exist, but they were never scheduled. So they're just lying around. They were defined, but never scheduled, never used, never run. So it's the question about the relevance of those controls and as well about automated procedure that were defined, where you have defined all data service, parameters, dimensions. However, they are not assigned to a control, so they will never be run. And the same for manual procedures. So I just give you the chance as well for the compliance manager and specialists to see, are we good with our data definition? Do we miss something? Do we have here a redundancy of data or data holes? And all those SSC report consolidates data at reporting level. for the compliance managers and can highlight action to derive and then inform people accordingly. So with this, Uli, if there are particular questions for my session, I'm happy to cover them now.
Yeah, thanks, Alain. So, yeah, no problem. So there was one question which I've already answered. So it was about whether financial compliance management is included in S/4HANA, or whether an additional license is necessary. And yeah, do you want to answer, or shall I?
I can answer it in a question in a second. Financial compliance management is a specific scope item, and this has a dedicated license number. So it is not included into the S4 license. It's an additional product, but is pre-integrated with S4 on-premise and S4 cloud. And for SAC, if I just can extend my answer, if the customer has already a valid SAC license, those reports that you see can be used as part of the existing license. So there will be no extra license metric for the SAC parts. This is already included into the application.
Perfect. Thanks, Alain. Okay. So if there are no more questions regarding financial compliance management, I guess we can continue with the next and last topic of this session. And this is regarding international trade. So I would now hand over to Christian Stadler, who is the product owner for international trade. Christian, over to you.
Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome from my side. My name is Christian Stadler. I'm product owner for international trade management portfolio inside the SAP house, and I'm happy to share here our developments for 2108 and 2111. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, we have some topics on the agenda, mainly focusing on our future trade compliance checks. So this is embargo and license management, including the integration into the watch list screening. And there's also one topic that referred to an enhanced integration that we have built for the SAP Global Trade Services product. Let's start with the first topic that we have enhanced. That is the trade compliance checks in sales quotation. So especially here for the embargo and for the SAP watchlist screening. So the business document in S4, the sales quotation itself has been enhanced by being now enabled to get checked against the embargo situation and also against the watch list screening. So all relevant partners in this document can be screened now with the watch list screening application. In addition to that, also the inbound delivery, so the inbound side now in the overall processes has also been enhanced here with embargo, with watchlist screening, and also in addition and in comparison to what I just have explained, also the service of legal control, so the license management. So all of these services are now also available in the inbound flow. So inbound flow is from that perspective, purchase order, inbound delivery, goods receipt. The PO already has been integrated, and now with these available releases, we also have integrated the inbound delivery document, that this can be checked against the embargo situation. So checking the involved countries, checked against the watch list screening, so checking the relevant partners against the sanctioned list, and also the products, so line item level products itself are checked against the license management, meaning do they require an import license that the process can flow through. If that is not available, then the system will block this business document until the situation is solved. Next to that, this status, and that switches now to the outbound side. So here's the outbound delivery. So the status of a trade compliance check, or the checks that I just already have mentioned, so the legal, license management, embargo, and also watchlist screening are now visualized on the header and also on line item level in the relevant documents. So here in the inbound delivery, that feature wasn't there. So for now, that we gained here some more transparency for the business users, so that they can see which of the items and which of the declarations are blocked. So yeah, switching over to another topic. So that is now addressing a functionality that is not part of the S/4HANA overall scope, but it is referring, or that's a topic that is addressing the integration into the sidecar solution, SAP Global Trade Services, which covers all facets of complex customs processes like export management, import management, trade preference management, and especially in the area from customs, so export and import, here also supporting our customer base with tools to manage their special customs regimes like foreign trade zones, bonded warehouses, IPR, which is inward processing relief, or in China we are supporting processing trade regimes. So all regimes that can leverage huge savings for our customers. And these processes are highly integrated into the S/4HANA process flows, into the supply chain inbound, but also outbound wise. And this integration point has been enhanced to the existing scope item 2U1, so that also with 2108 and 2111, our customers can now use also the integration and the processes in respect to special customs procedures. To do so, the report needs to be scheduled here to transfer duty paid stock. To start all this process, all settings you can find in the system, to make this process integration happening. Of course, this requires a valid license for SAP Global Trade Services. As said, this is not part of the S/4HANA scope, but the integration point has been now enhanced, so that is now a smooth plug and play with both solutions. Coming to the next topic that has been developed in the course of the past months, that is about the trade compliance status synchronization, again from GTS into the sales order itself, which addresses the scope item 24J. So this synchronization has been changed in a way that now the check results that are coming from the GTS system can be stored in the sales order itself. So we have created, together with the colleagues here, a new persistence of these check results, and these results are also available or are also have been made visualized, and these results are more or less automated updated in case that SAP GTS identifies the compliance situation, or that the export control specialist has assigned the correct license to a blocked order. And that assignment then relieves this check status so that the order can be continued to be processed. These statuses are also available in the sales order fulfillment monitor, so they can be used for search, filter, and prioritization for the business user. And just for the case that something is not working because in S/4HANA the sales order is already blocked, there is a job scheduling report available that can be planned that constantly updates the failed updates in these blocking situations. And exactly this topic I want to show you in a short video demo, which I will start in a minute, and I hope that that also the sound is working. So I will start this demo, and perhaps Katrin, you can just give me a hint if the sound play is also working fine. Here, that's it.
Services.
Is it
We have
working?
worked together with the SD colleagues to display.
Perfect. Then, yeah, let's go for the demo. So you see here exactly the status management that has been introduced together with the colleagues from the sales order management, and the interaction between the SAP GTS, between the GTS flow.
For the integration into SAP Global Trade Services, we have worked together with the SD colleagues to display the trade compliance check status of the Global Trade Services trade compliance checks in the sales order itself. So let's see what we've done there. Let's create a sales order. The order type is enabled in the customizing to be relevant for the Global Trade Services checks. I'm entering 2 material numbers. And that's already it. So let's save the sales order. If a sales order is enabled for the trade compliance checks in the GTS system, you will get a pop-up which will display the check result from the GTS system. In this case, item 10, legal control, is blocked because of a missing license. Up until now, this was the only indication for a sales representative to know that there was something within the GTS system. But now we have enabled the sales order to display also the trade compliance status from the GTS system on the status tab on item level. You can see here the embargo, screening, and legal control status. In this case, the item 10 is blocked for legal control. Item 20 is released. So these status fields are now displayed here. You will also see them on the header level. And here the overall status of the document is displayed. In this case, the legal control status is partially blocked because one item is blocked and the other one is released. So let's take this sales order and jump into the GTS system quickly. Here, in the compliance area, you will find the document under the Manage Block Documents app. In there, you can see the details, and you can also now work on this document. As you can see, a license is missing for item 10. Now, in the GTS system, you can start the license process. In this case, I would create a license. So after I have created the license, I can now select the document and recheck. As you can see, the document is not longer displayed here in the Manage Block Documents, which is an indicator that this document has been released. So let's jump back into the S4 system. Let's display the sales order again. This time I'm using the Manage Sales Orders app. So now let's go into item 10 and display the status tab again. As you can see, the legal control status is now released. There's also another field here, the legal control license indicator, which will be filled whenever an individual license has been assigned on the GTS side. This is for layer processing, and it can be used as split indicator for the delivery creation. So as you can see here, the status is now correctly also referred to after we have released the legal control. Let's go on header level. And also here you can see that the legal control status is now not only partially blocked, but it's released because now all items have been released. So it's now much easier for a sales representative to see if there are any issues with the trade compliance checks in global trade services.
Yeah, so thank you, Christine, for preparing here the video for us. Switching back to the presentation and going to the next topic, where I also have a short video brought with me. It is about the enterprise search, which we have enhanced here in S4 itself to be enabled for trade compliance documents. So this is now, again, an S4HANA pure native functionality with no linkage to SAP Global Trade Service, what we just have shown you. What we have enabled here is what you know from the SAP S4HANA Enterprise Search. It's the fuzzy search for the trade compliance documents based on their key attributes. So you can search for material number, for document numbers. And as you're used to that, the results are then, of course, displayed in a working list, which can directly link you to the document itself. And it shows also the key facts, so fact sheets on the individual documents in the overview page. So with that, we enabled the business users to more easily find the compliance documents and to get this quick access done. And let's jump to the demo again. How this is working.
With the 2111 release, we have enabled the search functionality for trade compliance documents. You can use the enterprise search for that. Just select trade compliance documents up here and then enter a trade compliance document. You can also leave the search field empty to search for all existing documents. The result list will display all the documents there are, but you can also narrow down the search results with different filters, for example, for document category or for plant. Via the smart link, you can get into this object page where you have an overview of the trade compliance document. You can further drill down into the items to see an overview of the status of the trade compliance checks for this item. It is also possible to directly go into the app Manage Documents Trade Compliance to work on the trade compliance documents. For example, in this case, you could release the embargo block. It is also possible to search for product numbers and to get a display of all trade compliance documents that consist of this product. This makes it easy to search and filter for trade compliance documents and to facilitate responding to ad hoc questions that arise during document processing.
Yeah, thanks again, Christine, for the demo. And with that, I'm done. I'm handing over back to Katrin. And thanks for your attendance. And have a good day.
Okay, I think I'm not Katrin, but I take over. Thank you, Christian. I think we have some question from Ravir for this topic in bracket trade. Exist any localization from Latin America, or is there something on the roadmap for Latin America?
So for S4HANA, I cannot tell that. So I think that needs to be referred to colleagues from globalization services. But the scene functionalities like embargo and license management are non-localized functions, so you can make them run also for Latin America. For SAP GTS, there are no concrete plans for Latin America countries. As a vision, we are collaborating with colleagues in SAP Brazil, but that as a visionary roadmap topic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's one question which the audience might also be interested in, which is the availability for on-premise. Maybe you can elaborate on that too. What you've just shown, will that come with the next release?
Yeah, so that is so what we just have seen here. So especially the integration topics with the S/4HANA 2111, and these are also tied into the latest GTS release, GTS 11 and GTS edition for HANA, which we just have set to general available last week, and that is that are the key facts to share.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, then I would like to thank you very much, Christian, for the interesting presentation. And if I look at the time, I see that we are a bit over time, ahead of the time. If you could rate the sessions from this block number 3, so Jürgen, William, Tom, Alain, Katrin, and Christian, which goes until 4 p.m. Central European Standard Time. We go ahead with the second part of GRC from 4 o'clock, update privacy governance, the document compliance, and an update on the identity access governance, which ends up the whole day.
There was one comment from one of the attendees. This is great content, guys. Looking forward to the next session. Thanks. Yeah, that's nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And see you in the next session then. Take care. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for attending. Bye.